Matt, how you doing? I appreciate the chance for us to get together. I don't know if there's anything that I have that can help you, but I'll go through the areas that we work in. Areas such as cash flow, decreasing debt, reducing taxes. Now, we also specialize in life insurance and annuities and how they can possibly shave years off your potential retirement date. After that, if there's an interest on your part in anything, I'll gather some information and we'll get back at another point and go through some specifics. Now, there's nothing to buy, so just sit back and relax. Okay? Now, Federal Financial Group is a national company representing several insurance companies and other financial institutions with billions of dollars of assets, some of which have been around for over 100 years. What we do is teach people about money, how it works, and how to make it work better for them. Specifically, our goal is one thing. We want to help people become financially independent. Now, what that means is the interest you're earning on the money you've got put away replaces what you would normally earn, like from a business or a salary. At that point, you don't have to work anymore. You may choose to, but you don't have to. Now that's financial independence. Wouldn't you like to know how to get you there the soonest? And that's where we're headed. Now, we have some issues and challenges. Now, what I want to do is touch on some of the issues and challenges that face us today and then talk about solutions. First off, over the last 10 years, income has risen, right? But living expenses keep going up and up. So for many Americans, there's no real way that income has kept up with a lot of the costs of a lot of things. So what people do is they tend to, as their income doesn't increase evenly with what's going on with the economy, they tend to take out credit. And that becomes a real problem. So we have an increase of credit, poor savings and habits ensue, and that creates some real problems. Now, this is my point. And this is according to a study done by the U.S. Health and Human Services. Out of 100 people turning 65 today, how many of those people would be considered financially secure? And let me define financially secure for you. Financially secure is actually making $35,000 or more. Right. Financially secure people, it would be 4 out of 100. The other 96 are not. Now, what is their situation? Well, they have to either rely on their family, rely on charity, and this is perhaps the majority of them, they're still working. Now, for example, you take a look at the seniors that work at Walmart. I've gone in and I was greeted by actually a neighbor that I'd known from long ago. Had retired but just couldn't make ends meet. So, back to Walmart. Now here's the solution. What we do is we work on key areas involving 7 steps to help build your financial independence. And we weave these steps together. Here we are, 7 steps here. To help you get to your financial independence. Now it's going to be cash flow, getting out of debt, reducing taxes, and retire as soon as possible if desired. Remember, financial independence is working only if you want to, not because you have to. So the goal here is to obtain financial independence much quicker. So what I'm going to do is rip some of these real quick. Stop me if you have a question, but keep in mind the specific areas that you have the biggest need or biggest priority. And then we can develop a strategy later on. Now, step 1. And we call this inspect what you expect. So in order to have more money later on, you have to first know where you're spending your money now. Now, part of understanding how money works and how to make it work better for you is knowing where your money goes. We will introduce you to a tool where you can track your earnings and expenditures so that you can inspect what you expect. Now, the goal here is to free up extra money that you don't know you have. This extra cash could be used to pay off debt, or applied towards future dreams, or possibly shave years off your retirement date. One of the areas where I like to talk about inspect what you expect is your 401k. I had a client recently who I spoke to and said, "How is your 401k doing?" "Great, it's up 10%. "Really?" Now, I said, "Okay, give me the details." "Well, I had 100 and now it's 110. "And are you making contributions?" Yeah, I put away 15%. Well, I know he makes about $5,500 a year, so I know that about 8,000 of that 10,000 was ongoing contribution. So I brought that to his attention, and he realized that really he was only making about 2% in his 401k. Now, step 2. In step 2, we're trying to increase your cash flow. Now, that's a good definition. Let's also define cash flow as this. Monthly cash flow is what's left over at the end of each month after all the money's come in and expenses and bills go out. We work with firms that specialize in improving your cash flow by reducing the cost of service and debts. For example, let me ask you another question. At the end of the year, are you getting a tax refund or do you owe taxes? Okay. Now that's interesting that you say that, because you're getting back how much? Between 1,100 and 1,300? You're getting back between 11,000 and 13,000. Okay. So what you're telling me is that you're paying the government to keep your money, to keep your $11,000 to $13,000 for a little over a year, and then allowing them to give it back to you with zero interest. Does that make sense? And you know what? It doesn't. There are ways to take money as it's being earned and put it back into your budget to earn money for you instead of for the government. Okay, let's take a look at step 3. Now, step 3, we help you to eliminate your debt. Are you close to being totally out of debt right now, including a mortgage? Okay, so the mortgage you just redid, you're at 80% on the third year. Okay. Now, most people aren't. Do you have credit card debt? Okay, so we have no credit card debt, no business debt. All we have is an auto loan, which will be paid off in 12 months, and your mortgage. That's not bad. Now, we do have an amazing software tool that will help us organize and prioritize your debts, so you can be completely out of debt in a lot less time. Usually less than 10 years, or possibly less than half the time that you feel that you're going to be in debt. And when we get back together, in the first 5 minutes, I'll preview this for you and show you exactly where you can be totally debt-free. Now, step 4. And we're skipping over the debt part because you have very, very, very little. Okay. Step 4 is a biggie as well, creating an emergency fund. Do you have an emergency fund? Okay, so right now you don't. Now, what I find is that most people don't have one, so you're not unusual. So if an emergency comes up, out comes the plastic. That $1,800 new transmission for the car, 3 to 4 years later becomes a $3,000 to $4,000 transmission, and that's what's hurting people. A sound emergency fund has 4 factors. Number 1, it has got to be safe. Number 2, it has got to be liquid. Number 3, it's got to get a rate of return better than the checking account. And number 4, it must be separate and systematic. Now, here's the point with that. Have you ever tried to build an emergency fund in a checking account? Right, never happens. It's free game. It's definitely going to get spent. Here's the point. If it's out of sight, it's out of mind. So what we encourage is a separate account, such as a money market account, where you can have it drafted, say, $50 a month from your checking account right into your money market account on the same day every month. So it's out of sight, out of mind, growing at a better rate of return. And when stuff happens, you've got the money. It not only keeps your credit card balances at zero, it also helps prevent you from dipping into your retirement savings as well, avoiding that 10% penalty. It's simple, it's powerful, and it works. Now, take a look at step 5. Protect what you have. Now, step 5 is utilizing life insurance to provide proper protection against loss of life, which leads to loss of income. It's pretty devastating when mom and dad have 3 kids, you have 6, and then dad is suddenly gone, which sometimes happens. Have you seen that before? Now, who's going to pay the house payment, the food, the light bill? And what's devastating? That's all totally devastating, right? Part of a good financial plan is proper insurance to replace income. And it also sets up an immediate estate. Here we do 2 things, a little bit different. We look at a person's financial needs and bring back options that will save people money while increasing their cash flow, helping them get set up with proper amounts of insurance. Do you have insurance right now? Okay, so you have $100,000 through work. So that's term? Okay, excellent. All right, great. Now let's go on to step 6. Now, step 6 is the biggest one. And if you'll listen to me, it could change the quality of your life. No kidding. It's the one everyone likes the best. Step 6 is building a long-term income or long-term savings. Now, there are 2 elements at play here, 2 financial battles that you have to win the money game. Because if you don't incorporate these 2, now I can be strong with you here, the chances of you being financially independent probably won't happen. And if it does, it's way out there. I mean, you can't be part of those 4%. You're going to be part of the 96 if you can't win these 2 battles. So here are the 2 battles you have to win. Number 1 is the inflation battle. And you'll see why in a minute. And number 2 is the tax battle. Now, it's not what you make, it's what you keep. And taxes will hurt you if you're not careful. Let's talk about inflation. Have you ever heard of the rule of 72? No, okay, now let me explain it. It's really interesting. I'm going to jot down some notes for me here. Now, okay. Whatever interest rate that you're earning, let's say it's 4%. If we divide 72 by that number, it will tell you how many years it will take for your money to double. So in this case, we'll take 72 divided by 4. So that means your money doubles every, 18 years. Okay? 72 divided by 4, 18 years. Now here's the example. Let's say you have $100 in an account. And let's say it earns 4%. So $100 at 4%. If you leave it, it just grows at 4% in 18 years. So in 18 years, it's $200, right? Now what happens in another 18 years at 4%? Right, doubles again. Another 18 years, we now have $400. Okay? Here's the problem. 36 years from now, how will $400 buy what 100 does now. Think about some of the costs over the last 36 years. I remember a day 36 years ago when I heard a guy say, one day gasoline's going to hit $1. And it certainly did, and it didn't stop. Inflation has averaged 3% since 1926 through 2007. So $100 at 4%, 18 years, $200, another $400. Okay, that's inflation. Now, Matt, if people are saving, where are they saving? They're saving at 4%. Where are they saving? Right. Banks, credit unions, fixed accounts, etc. Where they're probably not even getting 4%. How much are you getting in your checking account? 0, right? Okay. So you can see what's happening. Money is growing, but inflation is growing much quicker. They're losing purchasing power, and they may never retire. Big, big problem. The solution is to help them obtain a potentially better interest rate. So let's say a person could get 6 to 12%. Now look at this example. Let's assume you're 29 years old and you've got $10,000 and you've got that at 4%. Okay. Now we're going to go 36 years to 8. We're going to go to 72. 4%, 72, 18 years. So 10,000 grows doubles twice in 36 years to 40,000. So in 16 years it's 20. In 32 years it's 40,000. Okay. So you got 40,000 to your name. Now how long is that going to last you? You've got 6 children, a wife. The way you spend, probably, not even half a year. Probably much less than that. Just kidding. But maybe a year. Maybe a little longer if you're really, really, really frugal. And then you're out of money. And you're a greeter at Walmart, right? But here's the problem. We've run out of time. Who wants to work past age 65? The only thing we could have changed is the interest rate. And here's the million-dollar question. If you could have earned 6 to 12% instead of 4, would you now have greater financial independence? And the answer is yes. I'm going to refer to this here. You take a look at this table. Here's our 10,000. Here's our 4%. That's grown to $40,000. At 6%, our $10,000 grows every 9 years. So at the end of this period, when you're 65, we have $80,000. At 12%, it doubles every 6 years. And at the end of age 65, we have $640,000. The only difference between this guy and that guy is the interest rate. Not more money, 10,000. Not more time, 36 years. The only difference is the interest rate. But it costs this guy $600,000. Now, Matt, isn't that a pretty important principle for you to learn? This could change your quality of life. You know what? For some reason, the key is in saving is some people think it's a lot of money. It's not. The key is saving a little bit on a monthly basis at a decent interest rate. If you will save for you at a decent interest rate, there may be a time when you're not be out earning your money, but actually your money will be out earning you. And that's pretty awesome, huh? So the million-dollar question is, where can I get a decent rate of return, but yet have protection of principal, where you're actually guaranteed not to lose money? Actually, there are 3 different strategies. I'm going to give you a synopsis on each, and you can tell me which one makes the most sense for you, so that I know what's suitable for you when we get back together. First is the fixed rate approach. Let me illustrate these for you. We have the fixed rate approach. Okay. And what are we going to earn in the fixed rate? Well, it's low. The rate's approximately 2 to 3%. Could be even lower than that, probably less. Which may be risky because of inflation, because you're not keeping up with the cost of living. Now, the second approach is the total other end of the spectrum, and it's the market. Okay? The stock market or mutual funds, where you have the potential for higher returns, but you also have greater risk of losing your money. You can have losses. Okay? And a lot of people have, because it's been pretty dicey lately. Now, the third way is the index strategy. Put that in here. Now, with an index strategy, your principal is protected against loss. In addition, all interest earned, any interest earned, is also protected, so you don't lose money. All interest earned is linked to the S&P 500, so you have the potential for gains, for substantial gains. And just so you know, for the past 25 years, the S&P has averaged almost 10% a year. The index strategy, right? Now, you know this is a very popular strategy. Let's talk a minute about, you've heard of the S&P 500, right? Well, the S&P 500 is a stock index. It's the 500 largest companies in the U.S., and it represents over 100 industry groups, such as technology, healthcare, utilities, etc. In fact, the S&P 500 represents almost 70% of the total domestic equity market capitalization and about 70% of the American economy. But get this, the S&P 500 has averaged almost 10% a year for the past 25 years. If you had invested in the S&P 25 years ago and averaged almost 10% per year, you'd be happy, right? Now, when we get back together, if we determine that an index strategy is suitable for you, I'll then explain the specific products, costs, floors, caps, and other terms and conditions. But for now, let me give you an overview of the index strategy and how the interest crediting works. All interest credited is linked to the S&P 500 up to a cap, for example, 12%, but without any of the downside risk associated with putting money directly into the market. So you see your money is protected from any market loss, and at the same time, you participate in the growth of the S&P 500 up to a cap. And again, that example is 12%, with protection from any downside market risk. That should be pretty important, don't you think? Okay, here's an example that I want to show you. Let me get you a fresh page here. Now, let's say that we're 5 years ago. Okay, now we have $10,000, and you contributed that to the index strategy. And let's say we have $10,000 also in the market. Okay, let's say the market grew by 10%. Let's say the S&P goes up 10%. So now your 10,000 is 11,000, right? If you're in the stock market, it goes up 10%. It's also 11,000. Okay, let's say in year 2, let's say it goes another 10%. So now we're up another 10%. Now we're up to 12,100 in both scenarios. We're up to 12,100 in both. We're up another 10%. But now, let's say in the third year, the S&P loses 20%. Is that possible? It certainly is possible. It has happened. In fact, it's even been worse. But what happens there? Well, now, this 12,000 in the market is now down to 9,600. But instead of, in the index strategy, instead of your index account dropping to 9,600, remember, principal and interest is guaranteed. You're still at 12,100 with no decreases. It remains 12,100. So you can see why the index approach is quickly becoming one of the most popular. And you can see why one of the best ways to win the rate of return battle and to get the potentially higher growth, yet protect your principal from downside market loss. Now, Matt, you cannot just win the rate of return battle, though, and forget about those taxes. In fact, you're going to show you an example of that will shock you and how important it is to employ both the rate of return battle and the tax battle. So let's say 30 years ago, there was a guy, he was 30 years of age, he wanted to have $1 million when he was 60. So he didn't really understand any of this, so he just goes into the bank. And he says, Mr. Banker, what do I need to do? What do I need to save every month for 30 years so I can have $1 million? Now, of course, back then the CD rates were a little bit higher. So the banker comes back and says, well, what you need to do, put away exactly $1,639 a month for 30 years at 5%, and you'll get your $1 million. Well, he was totally discouraged, and he left the bank and never saved a dime. Now, he's now a greeter at Walmart. We've seen him there, right? Now, what if we could have taught him how to win those two battles, the rate of return and the battle of taxes? Look how it drops the number. It's almost unbelievable. Let's win one at a time here. The rate of return battle first. Let's say he could have earned 10% instead of 5%. It takes the number that he needs clear down to $900 a month. I'm using round numbers here, of course. Now, can most people save $900 a month? Probably not. Not everybody, not a lot. However, that's still $700 less than that guy. And that's significant, right? Now, what if we help him to put his money away where he can't be taxed while it grows? So with tax deferral, what does he have to put away? Now look at this. So originally it's $1,638 a month for $1 million. And that's at 5%. If I can bump it to 10%, $900 a month to get $1 million. If I can save this tax deferred, it now goes down to $438 a month for $1 million. Now, do you know people that can put away $438 a month? Yeah, there's a lot more people that can do that. Maybe you could do that. I mean, you've probably been blowing at least that much, right? Just kidding. See, to a lot of people, that's not a big deal. Now, not so much as 1,638, right? So it's really important. It's not so much putting away a lot of money, but putting away what you can at a decent rate, reducing taxes, and avoiding loss of principal. In fact, in step 6, when we're done, a person knows how and when they will be potentially financially independent. And if you do it right, we can literally shave years off of that retirement date. And that's really neat. Now, Matt, let me ask you this. If you were financially independent right now, and you had enough in your nest egg so that every month your bills are paid, and you didn't have to work anymore, what would you and your wife be doing? What are your dreams and goals? what would you be doing right now? Well, that's great. Now think about it. If you were financially independent, you have options, and that's the point. You can do what you want, when you want, and how you want. In fact, it was interesting. The other day, we went through the implementation phase with a client, and that's our second visit. And the wife was so excited. She got up and she says, I could go door to door asking my neighbors when they're going to be financially independent. And they probably wouldn't know. But I do. At the time, she and her husband became one. Because they knew that their dream was going to happen. So it's really, really exciting. And that's step 6. Now let me talk to you about step 7. Okay. Now step 7. And that's estate planning. A lot of times using a trust, so at death you can leave a legacy instead of a headache, and possible tax burdens for your survivors. How a trust helps you avoid probate, protects against liabilities. Also the importance of having a will, living will. Now, do you have a will right now? Okay, you don't have one right now. It is critical, especially because you have the 6 children. You have to decide who will take care of the children. And let me give you a piece of advice. When you choose the custodian, you want to choose more than one. Say, for example, you choose your brother, and unfortunately at the time, you and your wife have died in the airplane accident. Maybe a year prior he was diagnosed with cancer. You have to leave them a way out. So you want to give at least 2, if not 3 different options as far as custodian for the children. Now, you remember a while back there was a story about Terry Schiavo. The lady became incapacitated and had the whole world arguing about what should happen to her. Now imagine how different it would have been for her and her family if she had only had a simple living will. You're concerned about who will make medical decisions, legal, financial decisions, as you're concerned with who will receive your assets when you pass away. Now, you are interested in updating or actually making a will trust, right? Okay, excellent. Do you already have an attorney or an advisor that you work with in estate planning issues? Okay, great. Well, we'll recommend that you do engage an attorney who specializes in estate planning. And I do have some options for you. I can give you some recommendations. Now, so those are the 7 steps. All pretty neat, right? Okay. Now let me ask you. Let me flip back to these 7 steps. There they are. So let me ask you. Of the 7 steps, if you had to choose and narrow it down to 2, what are the biggest priorities in your life right now between increasing cash flow, eliminating debt, developing the emergency fund, life insurance protection, long-term financial independence, tax planning, which is the most critical if you can only pick 2? I know. It's very difficult only picking 2. I can understand how you have an interest in more than 2. Okay. Well, okay, excellent. Those are good choices. You chose the long-term and the will for taking care of the kids. Okay. Excellent. Now, Matt, what we're going to do here is I'm going to ask you some additional questions, and I'm going to use the information to help plan a suitable strategy for you. So I'm going to ask you a few questions, and I'll take this back to my office where I have a very sophisticated software program where we'll put together your information and it'll help us develop a plan of attack specific around your needs and help you to become one thing, and that is financially independent the soonest. And let me tell you the cost of this. And there is a cost. When I come back, what I expect an ice cold 20 ounce of Pepsi Max. Yeah, I'm just kidding there. You're just getting a little too serious there, and I had to throw that one out there. So sorry about that. Now let me explain how we really get paid, so you know. The companies that you choose to link up with and help you with your specific goals pay us a referral fee or commission. So you won't be billed for services referred by us. So it's a win-win scenario. However, the information that I bring back to you will only be as accurate as the information that we put in. So work with me here because we're talking about your financial future, and if we take a little bit of time, we do this right, we can potentially shave years off your retirement date. Now the first 3 or 4 questions are yes or no answers. I can't have a maybe, I need a yes or no. This will help me with your short and midterm goals, and you're headed next, and where you're headed. So we're going to fill out this FNA. Okay, filling out the FNA. Okay. Man, John, this is going to be awesome when we get back together in a day or two. John, you've got between $11,000 and $13,000 we can work with, man. When we get back together, you're going to have a crystal clear picture of how and when you can potentially retire, and excuse me, how and when you can potentially retire, fulfilling your dreams and goals. I mean, you're going to love it, but you're going to need to listen. I'm going to spend some time on this because I know you're serious, so I'm going to be serious, all right? I'm going to be awesome here. It's going to be awesome, John. It's going to be a change in the quality of your life, and you're going to owe me big. Now, it's very important that we build upon this, what we talked about today, so I need to set up a time to meet again. So if we can, worst case, the best case is to meet within 24 to 48 hours, but if we have to go clear into next week, I'll have to talk about some of these things over again, review them over. So we do need to get back together as soon as possible because we're talking about your life. So with that in mind, what's your schedule? Okay. Now if next week is the earliest, that's okay, but I will have to do a complete review on all this. Okay. Now before I leave, let me ask you 2 very important questions. Number 1, if I come back and I could show you a plan that meets your needs in every way, that you're totally comfortable with, is there any reason why we couldn't do business? Does anyone else need to be involved in this decision? Like, for example, your wife. Assuming you'll like what we show you, how soon can you start? Excellent. Okay. After we do business, is there any reason that you wouldn't feel comfortable providing the names of 3 or 4 people that you feel might really, really benefit from our services as well? And you're in the real estate business, so you understand the importance of referrals. Okay, excellent. Okay, it looks like you're in the perfect situation for some possible tax advantages. In fact, I'm going to run your numbers by a tax expert and see if I can get them to come up with next time we cover the end of things that we talked about. I can't promise you that I can get them, but I'll bring them if I can. Okay, excellent. Fantastic. I really look forward to seeing you. You're going to be amazed at what we can show you and what we can do for you for your financial independence. Thanks again.